evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. Welcome back to PSGL Season 32 here in what is still an extremely competitive F2 tier racing at a circuit that we might still actually see on the 2023 F1 calendar. We are at the Portimao circuit for the Portuguese Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the commentary box tonight is Chris Buxton. And Chris, Happy New Year to yourself.
Happy New Year indeed to you, good sir, and to everybody joining us for the ride. I love this track. I've been a big fan of it in its sim racing terms. Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. Call it what you will. Yeah, it is a bit of a path less trodden in Formula One terms, but that's great in a way. That could potentially shuffle the order, especially if we get that all-elusive rain. We haven't had much of the wet stuff so far, so that'll be interesting if that throws up some unknowns. Ismail Farsi leading the way coming into round 7, but narrowly, only 4 points ahead of Will Lewis, who was on the podium last time around, as was Ismail Farsi. Race winner Marcus Siriano in the Ferrari, only a point behind Lewis, and then only another 5 points back to Iker Baena, who had the early championship lead, hasn't scored points in the last 2 rounds. Will he bounce back a little bit more? But still, both Hasses in the top 5 of the championship so far. Yeah, that's one of the things that a lesser known track brings up, is that you can't always rely on previous form. It's one of these tracks that isn't in your racing DNA. It's no Silverstone or Monza. It's not a track that absolutely everybody has done to death. So that's what I'm really looking forward to this time around.
Yeah, certainly. Like you were saying, it's a track that the drivers are still getting used to. I know you spoke about a wet race. I remember season 30 on the PlayStation around here was full wet for the entire race. Not necessarily the most entertaining of races, just because it's not really the easiest circuit to overtake on. You can see how close things are in the Drivers' Championship. Top 4 separated by 10 points. Top 6 separated by 20 points. Things not quite as close in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Haas kind of running away with that one a bit. They are on 90 points at the moment. 57 for Red Bull. Alpine still down there at the bottom, yet to score any points. We're not too far away from heading into qualifying session. And as I mentioned there is, 2 DRS zones around here, but it's not the biggest braking zone in towards turn number 1. So it could be quite an important qualifying session.
Yeah, there's very little braking zone into turn 1. And then it's a couple of right-handers leading on to probably the most opportune overtaking moment, which is going to be turn 5. Torrey Vip, go it as you will. That's it's not a very big straight, but it's a very heavy braking zone there. And then it is kind of tactical play through the rest of the lap. So overtaking may be a little bit harder to come by, but yeah, we'll see how our drivers do.
Yeah, we will. Won't be too long before we are seeing how our drivers are doing either, as we just make our way in towards the race, where things are looking very sunny at the moment here in the Algarve, as you would expect them to do. We have got a few different reserve drivers in tonight, and we'll go through them as the session goes on. And in fact, we've already got someone starting to make their way down towards the pit lane, as we just wait and see which one of the drivers it is going to be. And it is Bourlem Feather returning here in F2 tonight, waiting to see what he can do. And as we mentioned, Alpine yet to score any points in the championship, and I believe Zander the only full-time driver for them tonight. So they are going, they're going to have to go some, and Bourlem proving just how tricky this track can be. Very undulating indeed, very easy to look like a bit of a fool.
Yeah, he's also giving it a bit of a wiggle on that straight, heading down towards turn 5. Yeah, I think we've got 6 drivers that are being replaced this time around. Will Lewis, Christoph Zeller, Jack West, Jordan Poland, Harvey Cohen, and Joseph Loke being replaced this time around. So it's going to be interesting to see how our reserve drivers do. Yeah, Bowling Farrar is one of the first drivers out there. It's actually it's Max Wiesel in the Aston, who was first to break cover. I'm not surprised to see a lot of people breaking cover early in this particular track. Again, because a little bit less familiar or less familiarity going on in this particular circuit. Yep, yellow flags, we can ignore them. So first man to start the clock running is going to be Max Wiesel as he heads towards the line to start his first lap in anger.
Yeah, Max Wiesel then. What can the German do? Very experienced driver as he makes his way down the hill towards the braking zone of turn number 1. Just a quick dab on the brakes and then flicking it right in 6th gear. And more right-handers following through turns number 2 and 3 as well. Climbing the hill, moving over to the right-hand side of the track as you feather the throttle on your way through turn number 4 onto the second DRS zone then at the Portugal circuit. And again, a tricky braking zone and possibly a better overtaking opportunity as you make your way in towards turn number 5. Climbing again ever so slightly, flat out through 6. Don't really need to bother about that. Just puts you in position for turns number 7 and 8. And this is where you've got to be careful. This is where it's really easy to get caught out by the load shifting on the car. In through turns number 9, 10 and 11 as well. This double right-hander. Might see a few drivers try a cheeky little move down the inside through there. A little bit of a wobble from Max Wiesel as he comes through turn number 12 in towards 13. And then the final proper corner of the track that the drivers have to worry about follows after that one. The long right-hander at turn number 14. And now it is just getting on throttle, keeping the foot flat to the floor as you make your way through turn number 15. Max Wiesel heading towards the finish line, and it is going to be a 1:16.265 for the German. I have seen a lot of drivers practicing around this circuit over the Christmas period, and just to answer Will Lewis's question, we believe the BMW M3 GTR is Chanakinchi. So yeah, not bad at all for the first loads in this session. Max Wiesel fastest, Duncan Hoffland second. Max with quite a good banker lap time compared to what we're seeing from some of the others. Ismail Fassi goes in towards second at the moment. Yet to win any races so far this season, but is still leading the championship. And Ika Baena, his teammate, decides to dive it into the pit lane. Ika could really do with having a good run here. He's was obviously leading the championship after 4 rounds. Didn't score any points at Monaco. Didn't score any points at Silverstone. 2 races which were crazy for completely different reasons. If you cast your minds back a few weeks ago, Monaco with the disconnect halfway through and the various penalties that drivers had, including Ika Baena, and rain at Silverstone, just making things that little bit tricky in the early stages and really catching drivers out and really allowing some drivers take advantage. And one of those was Mirko Suriano, the man third in the championship at the moment, has only been on the podium twice. Both of those occasions, he was on the top step. It is only him and Ika who have been repeat winners so far in season 32. And Mirko Suriano, last time he raced here in PSGL, did manage a podium on the PlayStation platform, and it was Ismail Fassi who took the win in that race on PSF1. Suriano towards the line. 1:16.413. So certainly it looks like at the moment, as they were saying in the chat, that is a very good banker lap time from Max Wiesel.
Yeah, the lap isn't particularly long here in Portimao in comparison to the rest of the calendar. So I'm not surprised that the times are pretty close towards one another. Another one's just come on the board. I completely missed who that was. Max Wiesel still at the top with that 16.2. Who else is out there on a lap? Istvan Pukki in the Ferrari. He's just coming up to the next heavy braking zones. What's he coming through? That's 9 here. Turn 9 he's coming up to now. Really, really tricky to get this particular part right because of a slightly off camber and over a crest double right-hander of 10-11. Now working his way through the final few turns of the lap. We've got 6 drivers still to set a time, all out on track at the moment. Max Wiesel not sitting on his laurels. He's coming back out in the Aston. What can Istvan Pukki get on the board? That's a 16.675, slots him into 9th at the moment.
Yeah, quite a few drivers in that sort of midfield battle at the moment. You can see Chabo, Conye, Oggiano, Gianpietro Oggiano making his debut this season. And I think one of the first races, in fact, I've ever seen him on the PC platform. Istvan Pukki and Tycho Hardy all in that 1:16.6 at the moment. Dempsey, Koya, Warren on the 1:16.7. So things very close at the moment. Matthew Older, he's just done not really done a competitive lap time. It is a lap time, but a 1:39.724. I'm not the best at this game, but I somehow think that even I would eventually manage to beat that lap time if I kept it nice and clear. Let's see what Ika Baena can do. What can the Spaniard in the Haas do? Said he needs a good race And yeah, but it's so close in this championship at the moment that you are getting the feeling that for any of these drivers up towards the top, one more bad race could possibly be game over for their championship hopes.
That's the thing. We are over halfway in the season now. It's an 11-round season this time around. So those mistakes will become very, very costly. Here comes Bowlen Farrar in the Alpine. That is third, a 16.360 on the board for him. That's a cracking effort. So it's just Xander Van Dijk and Inika Baena yet to get a lap on the board. Xander has invalidated his lap time. I'm going to keep an eye on the Haas, the former championship leader. We'll see what Inika Baena can do. Last couple of corners now. It's really, really crucial to get this right-hander right. The penultimate turn, it sets you up very nicely for the run flat out through and over the crest for the final turn. And straight lines as much as he can towards the line. And that is fourth, a 16.394 for Inika Baena.
Yeah, not a bad lap time whatsoever. Puts him 55 thousandths of a second behind his teammate at the moment. So things are looking as we would always expect in this tier. Things looking very close indeed. What can Mr. Akinci do? And if you cast your mind back to Le Mans in the 90s, there was a McLaren running back in those days with in the F1. The McLaren F1 running with a BMW engine, so not the strangest name at the moment for him. Chan Akinci just getting ready to warm up for his lap at the moment. What is Max Wiesel doing? He is invalidated. He is diving it straight back into the pit lane, so not able to match that 116.2 at this moment in time, but we'll see what he can do later on. And here is Gian Petro, or Giano Petrux, you might remember him being called many seasons ago on the PlayStation platform. Another driver who's making that transition over now. Did race on PlayStation Challengers on the previous game, and we'll see what Oggiano can do here. Fassi goes fastest of everyone there, 116.248 for him. Gian Pietro Oggiano puts himself up in towards 8th place. And so far this season, the Hassers have tended to be the kings of qualifying, and Ismail Fassi there, he proves that. I mean, he's been fantastically consistent all season. He's just waiting for that first win, and we saw him obviously last night racing in the PSGL WRR race. He's looking like he's in top form at the moment.
It's not often he isn't in top form, in fairness. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing how everybody does, and like I said before, how our reserves do. Is Tycho Hardy in the McLaren just jumps up one position into 11th, 16.649 for him. Chan Akinci up into third, 16.290 for him. What about our current pole sitter? He is letting people out of the way. Well, Ismail Fassi, of course, having set his lap last time around, so he's on his way back to the pits. So not many people not on track. Bowling Farrar, Iika Baena, Drake Dempsey, Dylan Warren and Xander Van Dijk are not on track at the minute. It leaves some very busy sectors out there.
Yeah, certainly. You can see just around about turns 3 and 4 there, we're starting to get a bit packed. Duncan Hoffland, he's found some time in the first sector though. You might remember 3 weeks ago it was now, that absolutely storming victory at Monaco, winning by about 20 seconds. Absolutely untouchable around the Principality. What can he do around Portugal? Has found some time in the first sector, which should drag him in and around possibly that top 5 range. And you can see he's purple in the middle sector, a quarter of a second up at the moment. It's not a complex final sector, so you wouldn't expect him to find too much time, but could definitely get in and around his teammate with this one at the moment. A man who's not necessarily known for his qualifying pace, but certainly makes up with being a fantastic racer. The Aston Martin development driver heads towards the finish line. 116.313 slots him onto the second row of the grid for now.
And you got to think that Monaco victory for Duncan Hoffland, he built that lead twice. He did it on the first time we tried the lobby and on the restart. So his pace was just untouchable that day. Sammy wasn't able to continue that momentum into Silverstone, but that is another matter entirely. Xander Van Dijken, the only man not to get a time on the board, just coming through the final turn now to have another crack at it. 6.5 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time to get those laps done. Also, Matthew Alder, invalid last time around, so he will not be improving on this occasion. He did I think it was a 16.5, so he's got pace to certainly get the Mercedes close to his teammate Ben Sabakonyi. Well, Dylan Warren's reappeared. That's nice of him to join us. He's been in the pits for a while. He's currently in 16th.
Yeah, Dylan Warren.
Hopefully he'll have time to get another lap done.
Yeah, hopefully he will. I was going to say, you might remember from the last time out, Dylan Warren provisionally finishing in second place. Kane Lott provisionally finishing in third because of penalties getting removed for both Will Lewis and Ismail Fassi. It ended with Will Lewis finishing in third place and Ismail Fassi finishing in second. But fourth place on his return. Still a fantastic job. As talking about fantastic jobs, Max Wiesel, 116.095. He is absolutely loving it here at Portugal at the moment with 5.5 minutes to go. That is going to take some beating. We'll see what Bourlain Ferrer can do as he comes towards the line. He slots himself up into second place, but he's still well over a tenth of a second behind the German.
God, Struth, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, says Wiesel. Here comes Van Dijken. What does he do? That's 11th. That's 16.485 for him. Is Matholder on a lap? No, he is coming into the pits for what will be the potentially the final time in this session. But wow, Max Wiesel has put the bar very high. Who's going to be the first to get into the 15s? Place your bets now. Who are you here to support? Let us know in chat.
Yeah, I mean, Will Lewis is in the chat. You know, he's enjoying his holiday at the moment. I hope he's enjoying his holiday. Anyway, over in Tenerife, saying he's all for this because Max winning at the moment. Obviously, he's not in the championship hunt. Bourlain Ferrer in second. He's not in the championship hunt. So, for drivers who are perhaps, missing tonight, like Will, for those that aren't having the greatest of qualifying sessions at the moment, that are in that championship battle, it's not looking too bad for them at the moment if Max Wiesel ends up taking pole position. But we've thought this before this season. We have thought this before where drivers have looked fantastically good in qualifying and then somehow someone has managed to beat their lap time. 4 minutes and 6 seconds remaining. Wiesel, Ferrer, Fassi, Akinci, Hofland, your top five at the moment. Soriano in 6th. Ika Baena, the man who led the championship for the first few races. He's in 9th place at the moment, but only needs to find a 10th, just over a 10th of a second. He can get himself onto those front 2 rows of the grid. As I think we all know what time it is. We all know what phase it is, Chris, for the first time this year.
It's the Banzai phase. We are heading towards the final few minutes of qualifying. So who is out there on the lap? Well, Tycho Hardy has chosen this moment, a particularly empty time in the track, to get a lap done. Slipstreaming can be very useful. You've got 2 main straights to do it on. So, but we tend not to see an awful lot of that in qualifying. Into the pits he comes. He remains 16th for that 16.649. The next one that's going to be starting the clock is going to be Ismail Fassi. Can the Spaniard then climb those last couple of steps? You say all he needs to find is a 10th, but when the field is this close, finding that 10th, especially at the top end of the field, is so difficult.
Oh, certainly. I mean, if you look at it and you think a 10th and a half, it's 15 corners around this track. It's 100th of a second on each corner. How hard could that be? Well, at the moment, a 10th and a half is the gap between the 2 Hassers in 3rd and 9th place. It's the gap between Ika Baena and Caden Lott in 9th and 14th. It's just under a 10th and a half of a second. So, yeah, definitely it's going to need to be a special lap here for Ismail Fassi if he wants to get pole position. And it looks like he is not bothering this time. It looks like he's going to end up going perhaps for a second warm-up lap, not using any ERS. We've not seen anyone do this so far tonight, but it has been a tactic that's worked at other tracks. So Ismail Fassi leaving himself a bit of time here to see if he can improve later on. Of course, on these final runs, you don't need to make sure you've got enough fuel to do an in-lap to get back into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not going to be using these tyres again. So there's rhyme in the reason. You may as well use the time they've got. Look at the amount of cars behind Fassi. There is a bit of a gap. And then it's just a crowd of cars just finding that bit of space in the final 2 minutes. All 20 cars are now on track as everyone is going to be fighting for their bit of terra firma now to get that golden lap in. Who has got it? Who has got a 15 in the tank? Who can find the improvement they need? We will know in the next minute and a half.
I mean, I hope all these drivers know who's on a flying lap and who's on an out lap, because some of them are going to have to hit that anchors in this final sector. It is going to become the world's most expensive car park here in Portimao, as everyone's going to be scrabbling for space at the moment. One of the Williams sends it up the inside of, I think that was Ika Baena at this moment in time. So he's going to be one of the first drivers to head on to his final runs in this session. But coming around the final corners now, a lot of drivers on their final laps in this session. We'll see what Xander Van Dijken can do. He's in 11th at the moment, the former PlayStation F2 champion, making his way around the first few corners now. That very tricky 1, 2 and 3 section up the hill in towards turn number 4, and we'll see whether Van Dijken is finding any time. He's just under 4 tenths off of pole position at the moment, and half a tenth up in the first sector. We'll see what some of these a bit further back are doing. We'll see what the time is, of course, of Ika Baena. He's currently 600ths down, so it looks like Baena's going to be starting in the midfield unless he can pull something special out the bag.
Oh, I'm looking at Chanakinji. He might not make the flag to start his next lap. Oh, that might be a little bit close. Oh, I think he has just about got the hammer down in time, but wow, did he cut that fine. 3 seconds on the clock when he started. I had, was it Monza 19 when we had everybody queuing up behind each other to find that bit of space? Can't remember exactly what year it was. Here we go then. Final laps. Thivard in 8th, 16.3. Who is next over the line? Somebody was, but didn't see if they'd improved. Next up, we've got, I think it's one of the Alpines. Oh, Van Dijken's off the road. He's got himself disqualified as he'd had a spin on the penultimate corner, was actually facing the infield. Ferrar second, Baena 6th. Then it is Thivard now 9th. We've got Dempsey 10th, Luke 12th, Koisha 13th. Jeffrey Ritchie couldn't improve. Fassi could not improve. He remains in 3rd. So Janikinti still going. Max Wiesel is the only man into the 15s. 1:59.94 is his new pole time. Can anybody else get close from our remaining competitors? Jeffrey Ritchie's over the line. Jed Norgrove is done. Matt Alder, he's coming over the line, but only 18th, 16.394. Here comes Shanna Kinchi. Can he improve? Can he find the 210s he needs? No improvement for him. He was 700ths down on his lap. Ben Sabakonyi is back into the pits. So one man into the 15s, and Max Wiesel stamping his authority on the qualifying sessions here in Portugal.
I mean, that was crazy. He set 2 laps. Good enough for pole position, as if the second lap that he did in that session wasn't good enough. He decided, you know what, I'll really show everyone what I can do, and goes even faster. They're one of the biggest pole margins you're probably going to see all season. Max Wiesel nearly a quarter of a second faster than Bualem Farah. Ismail Fassi in 3rd place, Chanakinchi 4th, Duncan Hoffland, Ika Baena, Mirko Soriano, all championship contenders, 5th, 6th and 7th. Istvan Puki is 8th, Valentin Thivard 9th, Drake Dempsey gets inside the top 10 just ahead of his teammate for tonight, Gian Pietro Oggiano. Ben Chishabo Konyi starts in 12th place, Lutz and Daniel Koya on the 7th row of the grade. Tycho Hardy is 15th, Dylan Warman 16th, Jen Norgrove, Matthew Alder, Jeffrey Ritchie and Xander Van Dijken getting disqualified. We'll be back with the race after this short break. Welcome to Portimao. 4.653 kilometers, 2.891 miles, 15 turns with 2 DRS zones that can aid with overtaking. But somehow, Mr. Buxton, I don't think we're going to be seeing much DRS usage. Certainly not at the start of this race. Look at
I'll take this one. Commentary curse, score 1 to me. I call for rain, and there it is. And it is pouring in Portimao at the moment. It is absolutely chucking it down. Oh my, oh my. Well, I don't think anybody is going to be starting on softs.
No, I mean, we're thinking at the moment, has Max Wiesel gone all out for a has he gone all out on a dry setup? Yeah. And is that why he's got such a big margin? I've got to say, I do agree with Connor in the chat. I'm hoping it changes, because I'm just remembering the old PlayStation race around here where the weather was appalling all the way through. Does look like at the moment, though, it is going to be intermediate conditions for the start of this race, and possibly drying up later on, which could be very interesting indeed to see what tyres drivers go for, especially later on in the race. This is going to be a treacherous first couple of laps, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely so. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see people spinning on the first few laps, but we will see. 5 seconds until our questions are answered. Qualifying done. Let's head trackside.
Yeah, it's pouring it down here at Portimao. Who is going to take the victory, though, in the rain? We've got 5 lights. They go out and we're underway for the Portuguese Grand Prix. It looks like a good start then from Max Wiesel, flying away from pole position, comfortably leading in towards turn number 1. Bualen Ferrer, bit of a poor start for him, allows Ismail Fassi to work his way up ahead. So it is Wiesel, Fassi, Ferrer, Kinchi, Hofland swaps further back as Valentin Thijvaard and Istvan Pukki are going side by side, and that's Benchesabo Konyi almost having to go in towards the runoff area, but it looks like so far at least everyone has made it through the first sector cleanly, as still Thijvaard and Pukki are going side by side. The Hungarian all the way around the outside. That's a bold one. If you can get that one to work, if you can find any traction at that part of the track, and he's going to have the inside line for the next braking zone, and that might just allow him to finally take advantage and finally get that position. So they've been swapping and battling for 8th and 9th place, but in the lead, after what was a very good start, is Max Wiesel, and already him and Fassi are building a bit of a gap.
Wow, they absolutely took off. I've been riding on board with those at the back. Everybody is terrified of their brake pedal at the moment. And there's just been constant side-by-side from 3 or 4 different pairs right the way up until the penultimate corner. I think we've finally started to get a pecking order, but it is not going to stay that way. The rain doesn't look as bad as I thought it initially was, but everybody has indeed survived. Few gaps already forming, as you said. Nearly a second between Bualen Ferrer and Ismail Fassi. There is a second between Caden Luke and Drake Dempsey. Oh my goodness me, Duncan Hoffman, Marcus Ariano side by side through the first couple of turns. The Aston Martin getting really squiggly as into the first heavy braking zone at turn 3. Does manage to hang on to that 5th position. Now Fassi is just staying with Max Wiesel at the moment. They're not really hassling too hard, unlike Iga Baena, that is still side by side. He's had to take to the runoff area in the Haas to avoid impact with Istvan Pukki. Marcus Ariano, who's still glued to the back of Duncan Hoffman. My goodness me. I mean, Shannon Kinchi's actually got himself a bit of breathing space, if anything else. But Drake Dempsey is struggling. I wonder if he's opted more for a drier setup, because he seems to be really struggling to keep up with the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, he was having a fantastic battle towards the end of the last lap with his teammate for tonight, Gianpietro Oggiano. So yeah, Drake not finding the pace too good at the moment. It looks like the battle with Hofland and Soriano started halfway down the pit straight, and like you said, Chris, Iga Baena having to take avoided action, locked up both front wheels, was very worried he was going to end up stacking it into the back of Soriano and Hofland, which I don't think his teammate would have complained too much about that, but I can't imagine those 2 drivers would have been happy. You saw the predicted pit stop strategy at the bottom of the screen. What we're hearing in the chat, thanks to Alex and Jack for this information, is that it's rained for the first few spaces, so we might not see the drivers change to another set of intermediates. They may go straight onto a set of the slick tyres, most likely the mediums, as Tycho Hardy and Benchesabo Konyi are having a right old ding-dong here. This is only for 15th place, but I think they're realising, you know, I would say make hay while the sun shines, but it's still very cloudy here at Portimao. In these early stages, try and gain some move, because as they start to settle more into a rhythm, of course, it's going to get harder and harder to get those overtakes done, and it looks like the Mercedes just about managing to win out on that one. But in the lead of the race, as he has been from the start, it is Max Wiesel and Ismail Fassi, at the moment, the only driver who can stick with him.
Very much so. The gap between second and third continuing to grow. With Bualen Ferrer is a little bit of no man's land. Whoa! As the Alpine, as soon as I mention his name, get very, very uncomfortable coming towards the penultimate turn. That's so many people are experiencing the same thing. You can see the tyre tracks are there, but they're not hanging around too long. That's indication that the amount of water that is down is making these cars very, very uncomfortable as the top two play fastest lap table tennis at the moment. Ismail Farsi doesn't look like he's intending to attack too much, but if they've gone for a more weather-orientated or more downforce-orientated setup, then some of the others, they'll need to get out there and get on with it quickly. Wiesel really, he caught the apex quite hard at turn 4 and nearly binned it, but managed to get that one. Oh, it looks pretty nasty. He may well have something else to say about that, but it looked really, really nasty. He had to really catch that one to save him going off into the dust. But amazingly, everybody has survived. The pit crews are yet to see any action.
Yeah, obviously everyone on the same sets of tyres as well. We don't have to worry about any strategy from that point of view. Looking at the biggest winners and losers then at the first part of the race, we just saw him pull off a fantastic move in towards turn number 1. Dylan Warren has gained 4 places in the first stages. Caden Lutt has gained 3. Biggest losers at the moment, Ben Charbonnier and Jen Norgrove, both of them down 3 from their starting position. And Norgrove really struggling at the moment. First driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I would be very surprised if he's the last driver we see that popping up for at the moment. Despite that mistake, Wiesel, keeping Fassi at arm's length at the moment, at around that 5/10 of a second mark, which is comfortable for now when there's no DRS. He's probably wanted to be a bit further back coming through the final corner if that gets activated later on in the race. But these two looking pretty good for now, and Buell and Ferrar yet to be able to challenge them. You just get a feeling that Fassi's starting to just think about hounding Wiesel a little bit more. He's got a bit more VRS. He'll be trying to see if he can force the Aston Martin into a much bigger wobble than he had on the previous lap.
Commentator curse number 2 for me. I said that pit crews hadn't seen any action, and Jed Norgrove has had a new nose on the Red Bull. So fresh set of inters for him, and that's going to drop him obviously quite some distance back from the field. As 1.8 seconds now between Fassi and Ferrar, second to third. So the top two just in their own world at the moment, but will it remain that way if it dries up? That's the golden question at the moment. We could potentially face some quite big setup differences through the rest of the field. So people that are struggling now may really come good if it does become dry weather in enough time for the dry weather tyres to really make a difference. If it dries up in the last 5 laps, then it's neither here nor there. But if by halfway in the race we're starting to see people get onto the softer tyres and the rain does look like it's getting much lighter, then that's when we'll see the setup difference really really come good. It could be that Max Wiesel and Ismail Fassi, they will come back under pressure from those that have got a more dry-orientated setup later on.
Yeah, and it certainly seems to be a feature of this game that when it gets wet quickly. In terms of drying out, even if it stops raining on lap 10, lap 15, it might be, at least another 5 laps, possibly heading towards 10 laps before it is dry enough for anyone to risk a slick set of tyres. So managing these intermediates could be crucial in the first few stages of this race. As you said, Jen Norgrove just driving around on his own at the moment. Fresh set of intermediates, really the only tyres you can go for at this stage of the race. Nothing else is going to provide any benefit for you. Nowhere near wet enough for the wet tyres. And obviously with that rain still continuing to just fall delicately here in the Algarve, we're going to be on these intermediates for a while yet. It does look as though now things are starting to settle down a bit more. Closest battle that we have got on track is the one on our screen at the moment. Jeffrey Ritchie down in 17th, all over the back of this train that is being led. I suppose you could say being led by Dylan Warren at the moment, although he has now almost got a second ahead of Oggiano.
Yeah, but that's going to... Oh, trouble for Ferrar! Where is he gone? I'm trying to click on his name, and he's... that's on the final corner. So he's just wandered a little bit too wide, and there's even less grip out there. Oh, no, from third position in the Alpine, tumbles all the way down to 15th. That's 16th now as Hardy comes through in the McLaren. There may well have been either a lag moment or a small mistake, whatever it was, that has denied Ferrar challenging for the podium positions at this point. Oh, no, that he's going to be kicking himself over that one.
Yeah, setting qualifying in the final corner isn't really a corner in the dry, in the wet. Just a tiny bit offline, catching a tiny bit of curb, can easily unsettle, especially these modern ground effect Formula 1 cars. And that is Bourlem Ferrer all the way down in 16th place. I was going to say it releases Chanakinchi, but he wasn't really hounding the Frenchman at any point during that. But he has gained an extra place. It's pushed Drake Dempsey up into the points all of a sudden. And what can Ferrer do? It looks like being, unfortunately, another pointless race for the Alpine team. It's the biggest winners from that, obviously at Kinch's game. But now look at the gap that Wiesel and Fassi have got. You can barely see them on Chanakinchi's onboard shot at the moment. By the time he's coming through turn number 14, they're making their way in towards the final corner. Wiesel and Fassi now 3.5 seconds ahead of that chasing pack.
Now, is Chanakinchi going to push to try and close that gap down? I would think probably not, just because he has been promoted up into third. He's still going to be concentrating on the fact that race winner Hoffman is right on his tail, as Hoffman does look like he's getting himself a bit more into a position to attack the McLaren. We will see if that is the case. Now coming through zone 4. One of the heaviest braking zones in the circuit now coming up, and I think the rain has actually stopped. So now the track is going to, like exactly as you said, it's probably going to take about 5 laps to really dry up properly. But this is going to mean that the lap times are going to get a little bit quicker and quicker and quicker, and then it's going to be down to who's brave enough to pull the trigger first. Surely not, Jed. Surely not. What's he doing? Is he going? He is. He's gone on to hards. Well, I guess you're already last by a distance. You've got nothing to lose. I suspect the Red Bull is going to be in a bit of spot of bother, because unless he is seriously confident about drifting that car, I suspect that's a little bit early.
I mean, with the greatest of respect to Jed, he's a much better driver than me. There's a fine line, I think, between bravery and I don't want to say stupidity, but I can't think of another word at the moment. And I think, unfortunately, Jed's about to find himself on the wrong side of that line. He's going to have no grit whatsoever. Valentin Thijvard retires from the race. He's lost it in the final corner. And that is a full safety car. Well. Jess is making the commentators curse work, even in the chat. Jed Norgrove, he's on the hard tyres. He's going to lose a lot of temperature in them at reduced safety car speeds. And I think, had the entire field gone past the pit lane? No, they haven't. Ferrer, Van Dijken and Tycho Hardy are able to make their way into the pit, so they'll surely be putting on a set of the dry tyres.
Well, I think Hardy had already committed to the pit lane. I wonder whether there was a sudden change of direction from the McLaren, because I saw he was in the pit lane at the point that Thijvard was in the wall. So I wonder whether someone, not necessarily was saying it was Tycho, I just spotted he was the one in the pit lane at the time. I wonder whether someone changed their mind at the very last second, and that caught Valentin out, because there's no reason to have an accident at the point that he did. So something happened, and literally seconds before that happened, Fassi had managed to get past Wiesel. So again, we've got a change up top. Ismail Fassi looking to extend his championship lead. His timing could not have been better for when he got the overtake done. And where the safety car picks up the pack, it's after turn 4. They haven't found the safety car yet. So even though most of the field had gone past the pit lane at the point the safety car was deployed, that's going to be irrelevant if everybody comes in now. In comes the top 2, and I dare say most of the field are probably going to follow them. What about Chan? Yep, he's in. Duncan, Mirko, yep, they're coming in. It's worth double stacking because they're nowhere near the safety car at the moment.
No, I mean, if you don't double stack, you're just going to lose so much time when you do catch up to the safety car. I mean, obviously, I think Pookie might lose a bit of time out of all this, or Giano might. They're all going to have to go for a set of the white shod hard tyres. The mediums aren't going to last from here. And yeah, Ismail Fassi taking the lead at the opportune moment. I've got to be honest, I saw the yellow flag and I saw Max Wiesel drop down to second, and I thought he'd lost it for a second before it came up with Valentin Thijvard has retired from the race. Bad news for Valentin, good news for Max that he is still in this race, but great news for Ismail Fassi. He is in the lead, and well, you have got someone trying something completely different. Why not? Ben Shishabo Konye has come out on a set of the medium tyres. He's going to have to be so delicate on those if he wants to get them towards the end.
I wonder whether he's hoping the safety car's out there for a while. But, I mean, the wreckage is gone. The safety car is just going to wait at this stage for pretty much Jed to at least get somewhere close to the safety car line. And off it's going to go. How long does Ben Sabaconi think he's going to keep those tyres live for? That's a curious one there. Unless he thinks that the track is not realistically dry enough to make the hard tyres work properly. Well, there ain't a lot of water still out there, so that's a gamble I don't think he should. It wasn't worth taking. If we were on lap 20, sure, but at this point, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think once safety car comes in, possibly, well, I'd say almost certainly, depending on if we get any drivers decided to pit on this lap just to put on a fresh set of tyres, I'd say it's almost certainly coming in at the end of next lap. I think we're going to get DRS enabled within the 2 laps. I think it is going to be dry enough for the DRS this time around. It's just looking on board from Jen Norgrove at the moment. He is still sliding his car around some of the corners, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like a dry track out there. There's no spray coming off of the rear tyres and certainly going at a quicker pace than they were managing to do earlier on. Yeah, I don't think the mediums are going to work. You're going to get the short-term gain, possibly, of a few positions. You'll have more confidence than everyone else, because this could be a very interesting turn 1, as it will be the first time any of them in this race have gone around turn 1 on a set of the dry tyres, which could still possibly be a bit damp in the braking zone. But, yeah, I think Charbot Conye could just struggle from all of this. On towards lap number 10 then. Fassi leading Max Wiesel now in second place. And another big gainer from all of this, Chanakinchi was nearly 3.5 seconds off the back of the pack. Himself, Hoffland, Soriano, Baena, Warren. How did Dylan Warren get into 7th place, by the way?
Well, the misadventures of others, possibly, or partly, I should say, but Dylan's had an absolutely storming race this time around. But you've also got to bear in mind that I was surmising before the safety car came out that Fassi and Wiesel may well have opted for a more wet favourable setup because of how quickly they built that gap back to what became Chanakinchi. Now, if that is correct, and the rest of the cars behind him have a more dry favoured setup, then the Spaniard and the German are going to be under all kinds of pressure from a lot of people. Safety car in this lap, you absolutely called it. Everybody is in the queue now. So Ismail Fassi, it is down to you, Sunshine. The safety car is going to meander its way back into the pit lane. I'm keeping an eye on Ben Sabacon here. I'm very curious to see how this is going to work out for him. You look up front, I'll look in the middle.
Yeah, and at the moment we are looking back from Ismail Fassi. It is a long, long run down towards turn number 1. So doesn't want to get caught out here. If Max times this right, he can have an absolutely fantastic start. You can see them all just trying to get some heat into the hard tyres. They really don't like doing anything at this point in the race on the hards, accelerating, braking, anything just to try and get some temperature in. Needs to be careful here, Fassi. He doesn't get accused of going falsely, and now he has put the hammer down. There he goes, and I think he's just about got away with that one. Ismail Fassi is on the lead down towards turn number 1. Still they're trying to warm their tyres up as they head towards the braking zone, as Duncan Hoffland has to go defensive from Mirko Soriano. And there comes Ika Baena right on the back. This trio have been fighting all race long. Pookie, Lutt and Dempsey, they're having their own battle. Dempsey's finding himself getting sort of squeezed in the midfield here, and Ika Baena is right on the back of his fellow Ferrari engine car. Can he go for one down the inside in towards turn number 5? That's very late on the brakes from the pair of them, but I think he's just about made it work. Ika Baena gets himself up into it, holds 5th place. In the lead though, it is still his teammate Ismail Fassi, leads from Max Wiesel.
Caden Lou, are you lucky your car ghosted at the time that it did? Because he was really sideways coming through turn 5. That could have been a horrendous accident waiting to happen, but has not come about. Soriano and Baena side by side once again. Who's going to win out? Is it going to be Ferrari Works team against the customer team? It is Haas who wins out over that one. Baena fends off the advances of Soriano at the moment. Car still very, very twitchy as Norgrove and Van Dyken swap round. Brown and Ferrari side by side with Ogiano as well. as Norgrove gets back ahead of Van Dijken. Ismail Farsi now reclaims the fastest lap. Does look like they're starting to rebuild that gap. It's now 0.8 of a second between the two. Ben Sabaconi has got some life now in his medium tyres, getting up into 12th place ahead of Daniel Koija as he comes into turn 3. As Farrar and Oceano continue to argue, Van Dijken and Norgrove are just basically having an argument for wooden spoon avoidance at the moment. But lots of people going side by side. Out Matt Alder and Jeffrey Ritchie. Oh no, Alder's gone to the back of Farrar. Oh, well held by the Alpine. That could have gone horribly, horribly wrong. But I think there's damage to the nose of the Mercedes.
Yeah, we were just catching the tail end of all that. Looking back from Ben Chisabo-Conye. Can't really see from that one whether there is any visible damage on Matthew Alder's car. But the fact he started dropping down the field, it looks like he's won 2 races in a row. 2 very good races for Alder at Monaco and Silverstone. Looks like it's going to be a pointless venture to Portimao for him. At the front of the field, Fassi's built up enough of a gap. We'll see whether DRS gets enabled this time around. There's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't do. It's bone dry out there. They're doing fantastically well on these dry tyres. And I think Chalakinchi will be hoping it does get enabled because he's almost dropped outside of that range at the moment. But it is Fassi leading, Wiesel in second, and Duncan Hoffland sets the fastest lap of the race in 4th place at the moment. Chalakinchi just dropping outside of it. And there we go. DRS has been enabled, and Max Wiesel starting to hound the Haas ahead of him now. We'll see whether he's brave enough at this point of the race to go for a move in towards the hairpin at turn number 5, but I think it's going to get spicy between these two in the final few laps. For now, probably just take it nice and easy.
We'll see. It all depends on the action behind them, I would think, as to how that is going to play out. But Chalakinchi has been able to close back into DRS range as well. Just keeping an eye on the ERS figures, something I tend to keep a bit of an eye on. Ismail Farsi is nearly full, whereas most of the people are half or below, certainly in the top 10. That seems to be the case. Outside of that, Koija seems to have a fair amount. About 50% right the way down to Van Dijken and Norgrove, but they've been arguing so much. Now Matt Alder has added his name to the penalty board. His day is going from bad to disastrous. He's now nearly 2 seconds off the back of the pack. And Ben Sabaconi's gamble on the medium tyres has yielded 1 place so far. So I suspect we were right in our earlier thoughts that this isn't going to pay off whatsoever for the Mercedes driver. As well, everybody has DRS right the way down to Matt Alder, who's just come into the pits. Is he going to park the car or is he going to continue? It looks like he's continuing for now, but it is a new nose. And it's a set of medium tyres for him. Obviously, they've done a few laps now they've done 5 laps, indeed, since the last set. Can he make them go far enough? Less than 20 laps on the mediums? They might be screaming enough by the end, but it's worth a go, I guess.
Yeah, I think certainly from this point of the race, I'd be tempted to go for those mediums and just to try to get them towards the end. It's unlikely he's going to get anything out of this race, but we've seen plenty of battling. You'll never know whether we are going to get another safety car or anything crazy happening at the moment. The Mercedes, the only cars out there on that set of the medium tyres at the moment as we go on board with the Hungarian. Bencha Chabo-Conye, 7th place in Catalonia at the Spanish Grand Prix, round number 1 of the season. The only points we've seen from him, and has failed to finish his last 2 races at Canada and Silverstone. At the moment, Touchwood, still a long way to go. Still less than halfway through this race as Ismail Fassi sets the fastest lap once again as Pecco Subiano now beats it, taking advantage of the slipstream. Let's not forget, you finish in the top 10, you do get a point for the fastest lap, and we'll see whether anyone further down the field goes for a last-ditch pit stop to take that fastest lap out of everyone. If not, it could be a bonus point for Fassi, it could be a bonus point for Wiesel. Who knows what's going to happen in the remainder of this race. But we're sort of in that classic phase that you get at the start of the race. But because of the safety car, because of the rain, got it at pretty much the halfway point. Everyone's sort of in DRS range, but not really close enough to go for a move.
Yeah, people are managing their tyres now, so most people are not wanting to see the pit lane again, so they need to be careful about how they're going to make the move. And as you identified earlier, Luke, overtaking is not particularly easy here. There's not many ideal opportunities. If you're brave adventurous, shall we say. There's a few opportunities towards the tail end of the lap, but the ideal point to do it is really that heavy braking zone at turn 5, maybe into turn 1 if you've had a decent run down the start-finish straight. We will see. Tycho Hardy is in danger of losing DRS to the back of Caden Lute. He's just about hung on to it for now, but he was nearly outside of a second to his pursuer. So now Max Wiesel has regained the fastest lap. I mean, the fastest lap isn't changing by an awful lot, and that's Sander van Dijken. Speeding in the pit lane does usually mean a retirement, and there it is. He has brought his car in to retire, so that's 2 down from our field. I wouldn't be surprised if we lose a few more in the course of the race. So we'll see who else has got any more moves. For now, though, we're in the kind of tyre management phase. We'll see how that pans out. Jed Norgrove is needing to close in another half a second or just over to get into that DRS train. You're not falling too far behind, as unfortunately the ghost of Xander now returns to the track. As Matt Alder on now his warmed up medium tyres claims the fastest lap. That may well put an end to that particular ping pong battle for now.
Yeah, I think Matthew's going to be looking pretty good with that fastest lap, obviously, on the set of medium tyres. One more with Daniel Coyer down in 13th at the moment. He's on, outside of the championship contenders, he's on one of the longest streaks in the field. It's only Mirko Soriano who scored points in every race. Daniel Coyer, the only race he didn't score points in was round number 1 at Spain. Since then, a 9 for 10, 2 fifth places and an 8th. He's going to have to get some moves done if he wants to get some points here. Although with Ben Charbot-Cogner's tyres possibly, in the next lap or two, possibly already starting to get worse than the hards, this might be a pretty good opportunity. Down in towards turn number 1 as Jed Norgrove becomes our 3rd retirement from the race. Also in the pit lane, so will not cause a safety car. We are down to 17 runners here. As that is Divard leaving the session. His teammate goes in towards turn number 4. DRS opens again. As we said, 2 DRS zones on this track. Turn number 5, you can make something happen on the brakes if you're feeling brave enough. As we just saw out the corner of our eye then, Gianpietro Oggiano certainly feeling very brave in towards turn number 5 and gets the move done. A little bit of contact between the two of them, but that is the Alfa Romeo up in towards 13.
Bit brutish from the Italian there. He didn't banzai it as such. He did set up the move in time, but they did need an impact between himself and Coyer to get the move done. He has used pretty much all his battery to do it, though, so hopefully Oggiano has not left himself at a disadvantage from this point. Again, time will tell. One of my often used phrases, we will see. Again, at this stage of the race, there's so many unknowns. We can't realistically kind of second guess who's going to do what or how anything is going to transpire. I mean, for all we know, another safety car is going to be due. Obviously, we had one very early on. May well see another one. Let's see how the cars fall. Just keeping an eye on close battles. Bowlin Farrar getting close to your former cameraman, Daniel Coyer, who's still in the tyre tracks of Oggiano. Oh, and Bowlin Farrar nearly banzaied the back of the AlphaTauri there, coming into turn 3, but did not manage to avoid the impact as Coyer is sizing up a move on Oggiano coming down into turn 5. Doesn't quite get it done, but they're not kind of, they didn't get the memo of manage your tyre. They look like they're having a great old scrap. It may not be for points, but they're having a good time out there, it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Coyer didn't, give Oggiano a taste of his own medicine there. I'd certainly thought he was close enough to send one down the inside in towards turn number 5. Decided to stay behind for now. He's in a much better place with his ERS usage. You can see he's in the mid-70s at the moment, and Oggiano's rear light has only just stopped flashing, suggesting that he's at around 10% at the moment. He's almost dropped behind dropped a second behind Ben Charbot-Cogner. If he does lose that DRS, I think Oggiano is going to be a sitting duck. Caden Lott had almost dropped out of side of DRS range, as had Tycho Hardy. They've both got slightly closer to the car in front of them. It is all at the front of the field, at least. Very calm at the moment. As Ismail Fassi still leads Max Wiesel and Chad Akinci, the top 3 drivers here on lap number 20. You can see Coyer getting closer and closer and closer, just not enough of a speed advantage with that ERS at the moment. But you get the funny feeling that it is coming. As down at the back of the field, Matthew Alder enjoying himself on the medium tyres. Perhaps enjoying himself a bit too much. Spins, but is able to continue. And thankfully, as we saw from qualifying with Sander van Dijken, thankfully doesn't get disqualified, because if you have a big enough spin here, you can, spin off, let's say, as you're making your way through turns number 10 of 11, and you can end up near turn number 14.
Yeah, that is the thing, is that if you end up facing essentially the sky, it could be deemed you've actually turned back and you are now going the wrong way. And that's what happened to Xander. So he went a little bit too wide at that penultimate turn, ended up on the grass banking. He kind of over-rotated, and the game thought he was going the wrong way. So that's what he was disqualified for. Sadly, was not able to recover from that. Yeah, Matt Alder putting on a show for the spectators around that particular part of the circuit. Is back underway again. Drake Dempsey is dangerously close to losing DRS himself in the Alfa Romeo. He's managed just about to hang on to it, but he's got no battery left. So we could well see the DRS train start to break up a bit. Also, Ika Baena and the Haas, the second of the Haas cars, is really, really close to the back of Duncan Hoffman. And Jeffrey Ritchie doesn't want to be left out of the penalty party. He has added his name to it, as Koya and Farrar arguing through turns 3, 4, and 5. Oh, wow. I think Farrar has been lagging a little bit when I've been riding on board with him. They're still having an argument. That's Barrel and Farrar now on the penalty board, and the Alpine just about manages to wrestle 14th from the AlphaTauri.
And that is the thing with battling around this circuit. I mean, we saw there, Farrar and Koya, a bit of wheel banging between the two of them, having their battling. Now Farrar is almost outside of the DRS range of Oggiano. Just, if you don't get the move done cleanly, it can certainly end up costing you time. And I think that is some of what we're seeing further up the field. I think Charbot Cogne's medium tyres have seen the best of their life after 11 laps on his. He's now almost outside of the DRS range of Drake Dempsey. So this could get interesting as the race goes on now, as tyre wear starts to become a bit more of a factor. Are we going to see a few more mistakes from drivers? Are we going to see any penalties from those at the front of the field? Still 12 laps to go, and as it has been since the safety car restart, Fassi, Wiesel, Akinci and Duncan Hoffman are your top 4 drivers. We're on board with Ika Baena in 5th place at the moment, still hounding the back of the Aston Martin. It looks like if there's ever going to be a move, this could be the opportunity, because Duncan Hoffman is having to go defensive in towards turn number 5. Baena tries to sell him the dummy. Wow. There's just about a car's width of room there. They both go off the circuit. Hoffman is not going to be happy about that one. And now Mirko Suriano, he's trying to get himself involved in all of this. Baena safely in towards 4th place. Hoffman just about hangs on into 5th place. Jeffrey Ritchie retires from this session. Will that cause a safety car? But still Hoffman and Suriano are going side by side. The Italian has the inside, and I think he got the move done before the safety car got deployed.
Just, and only just. Oh, Jeffrey Ritchie, how the hell have you managed that? The barrier's quite some distance away from the track after turn 5, so I don't know how he managed that. He was already retired by the time that I caught up with that one, and Matt Alder was the next car behind him, who's obviously a very long way behind. Well, that brings Matt Alder into play, but now who is going to strap on a fresh set of tyres? Is anybody coming in? You bet they are. Hoffman, Warren, Pookie, Lutz, Hardy, and Dempsey, and Oggiano, and Farrar, and Koija. Wow, they've all come in. Not everybody coming in. Curious decision, that. I would certainly be getting rid of the harder tyres by now, and everybody switching over to mediums. That is absolutely the right decision to take. So I'm very surprised not everybody did at this point. Curious, especially the top 5. Ben Sabagoni was already on the mediums, so this at least gives his tyres a slim chance of getting to the end. I'm still not convinced he'll manage it, but it's been more of a chance than he had before. I'm curious on why the top 5 didn't come in.
I mean, I think they were all trying to sell a dummy to the car behind them. Fassi tried to force Wiesel in, Wiesel tried to force Akinci, and they're all snaking their way down the straight here. But yeah, they decided not to go for it. Duncan Hoffman did decide to go for it. I am surprised Charbot Cogne didn't come into the pits, because that seemed, a bit of a free hit in the end to get rid of those medium tyres. Strap on if you've got a fresh set, another set on the medium tyres. Should still have that fresh set depending on what he picked earlier on, of course. Yeah, not quite sure why Charbot Cogne hasn't come in in all of that. The pack's closing up once again. Matthew Alder, a bit like we saw with Jed Nordgrove here. Alder's going to gain quite a lot from this. He's going to have a free shot. Still might be able to get some points, but he does have that 3-second time penalty. And things all of a sudden have spiced up. And it wouldn't surprise me if that Baena, Hoffland, Suriano battle ends up seeing its way to the stewards. Hoffland just about left a car's width room on the inside, but Baena and Hoffland, both of them were off track.
Well, that's a debate I'm glad I'm not part of. As the sunshine now graces us here in Portimao, I tell you who this has really played into the hands of is Duncan Hoffland. He is the first of the drivers that have pitted. He's now in 7th, right behind Ben Sabakonyi, whose medium tires will be a bit past their prime. Now the top 5, it's probably, well, it is pointless them now coming in, because they're now going to be at the back of the train with, what, there's 10 laps from now. So the safety car is going to be out another lap. Of course, Matt Alder is 40-odd seconds behind the pack, so it depends how long the safety car is going to wait for the Mercedes to close that gap down. But Duncan Hoffland is in prime position to really hustle towards a potential, certainly a podium. It could well be the top step for Duncan this time around in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know in the chat who you think is going to take the victory. 9 and a bit laps to go. Fassi leads from Wiesel, Akinci, Baena, Suriano, all on the old hard tyres. Ben Chisabo-Conye on a set of the hard mediums. Duncan Hoffland, who's only dropped 1 place in this safety car window, on that fresh set of the medium tyres. Can the Master of Monaco claim his 2nd victory of the season and really get himself into that title contention? Just 20 points behind at the moment are him and Akinci, with, including tonight, still 85 points available. 16 for a win, 1 for the fastest lap. 5 races to go. Matthew Alder took it quite steady towards the end of the last lap, and I think in doing so, he's just about guaranteed that we are going to get 1 more lap under the safety car, which is music to the ears of our top 6 drivers.
Well, he could well have been helping Ben Sabakonyi there, but I think he can't absolutely floor it, can he? Oh, in comes... That is Ben Sabakonyi coming in. So if he was trying to help his teammate, he's just pitted and undone the aid that his teammates has provided him. Well, that's 1 less target for Hoffland and the rest. Obviously, as we know, a lot of people came into the pits. Oh, Ben Sabakonyi is determined to buck the trend. He's gone onto soft tyres. 9 laps to go. Well, they'll probably be all right. They won't be very happy by the end, but yeah, they'll do. How much time is he going to make up? Because vast majority of people ahead of him are going to be on pretty decent spec tyres. Well, we will see. Again, it really depends on how quickly he can get that Mercedes back onto the tail end of the pack. Ideally, the safety car wants to be making its decision as to whether it's coming in by the time they hit the 3rd sector line, which is just after turn 10 and 11, that double apex right-hander at the top of the crest. He'll be there or thereabouts, so we could be seeing the safety car in this time.
Yeah, we could do indeed, and he also went for front wing change there, Ben Chisabo-Conye. So whether he had the damage already, whether he's tapped the back of anyone under the safety car, I'm not quite so sure, but he is almost on the back of the pack, so I think we will be seeing the message. Safety car coming in this lap, and then Fassi, not seen it yet, but we do sometimes... There we go.
There it is.
We do sometimes get it a bit late after the sector point. There we go. Safety car is in this lap, and again, it is up to Ismail Fassi to try and build some heat in those tyres. The plus side, it's a lot warmer than it was earlier. The downside, 15-lap old hard tyres are not going to feel very good on this first lap.
Not against a fresh set of mediums, they aren't. Well, around the penultimate corner comes the field. Safety car has, of course, bolted away. How good is your defensive driving? Top 5? Let's see. I can't see how they're going to be able to do it, but I've been proven wrong with that particular gambit before. We will see. I'm ready on board with Duncan Hoffland, because I think maybe not at the initial restart, but he's going to be in prime position to pick off the top 5. And away we go. We are racing here in Portimao once again. And Jan Akinchi's already kind of gone over to the right-hand side. Koya has already nailed Farrar. So overtake's already going on. And here we go then. Who has got what it takes to climb up towards the top. Tycho Hardy's in trouble and he spun. The McLaren's gone round. He's continuing, but lots of people getting moves done. Isran Pookie on Dylan Warren for 7th place. The Ferrari has managed to claim that position. Now with the lap count starting to run down, we'll see some more elbows out, I dare say.
Yeah, there we go, straight away. Dylan Warren trying to get back on Isran Pookie. Sent that move, I think he was still in Spain when he decided to hit the brakes on that one. Didn't quite make it work. Made contact with Isran Pookie. That is Warren still in 8th place. Looks as though he's just about got away with that one without any damage. Benchusabo Konye, this time going for the different tyres and going for an alternate strategy, has worked a lot better. He was in 16th, we're not even at the end of Sector 2. He's already gained 3 places. He is up into 13th. Let's not forget, 3-second time penalties at the moment for Bourlain Ferrer and Matthew Older as Mirko Suriano I was going to say he's all over the back. He's side by side with Ika Baena. At the moment, these two have been having a right ding-dong pretty much since lap number 1 of this race, and Duncan Hofland's been involved in all of them, and now on the better tyres, this could be a brilliant opportunity for the Dutchman. Oh, they're going to have to go defensive at the moment. It looks as though Suriano and Baena have definitely got a top speed advantage over Duncan Hofland, which could help them out later on, because certainly tyre advantage is with that Aston Martin, but he's not gained any places on the first lap after the restart. Still 7 to go.
Yeah, but Hofland knows he doesn't need to, although he nearly drops it. Coming out of turn 4, that's wasted his opportunity to banzai the inside of turn 5. Oh, you may be feeling a bit frustrated, the Dutchman. Here comes Sabagoni on Ogiano. Can he get it done? No, the Alfa Romeo just manages to get a better drive coming out of turn 5. Now, Ben Sabaconi has used quite a bit of his energy, his ERS, to get to the position he's in. Is that going to halt? Or is that going to stall his progress? We won't know until time tells. Duncan Hofland, I think he's just biding his time. You're not seeing him trying to throw his car into unreasonable positions. You're not seeing him defending either from Isran Pookie. I think when DRS becomes available, he's then going to start to make the movers again. Sir Sabaconi and Ogiano, Hungary versus Italy, as the Mercedes bounces off the side pods of the Alfa Romeo, manages to hold on to 13th. Here comes Dempsey on the inside line of that final turn to reunite the two Alfa Romeos. DRS is now enabled. The race is already absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is, and Dempsey might get 2 in the space of 2 corners here. He's got past Salvo Konye. He's down the inside of Gianpetro Ogiano, and that is Dempsey up in towards 12th place. And here comes Benchusabo Konye following through in towards turn number 3 as well. Ogiano's going to have the inside line for 4. We'll see how that one turns out. They're both still banging wheels at the moment. Baena's around. Hofland's into 4th. Suriano into 5th, and that is Ika Baena plummeting down the order. He's managed to catch the car as now Warren and Pookie are battling as well. We just caught the tail end of that one, and I think we'd already seen the contact happen. Baena was sideways through turn number 5. He drops down into 8th place. Suriano remains in 5th, and Duncan Hofland, yes, he's up into 4th, but he's almost outside of the DRS range of Chanakinchi. This is going to be a tough final few laps for him. Daniel Koya and Bourlain Ferrer are battling over the final points position at the moment, and Caden Lutz not too far away from getting dragged into all this as well. Calling any position is going to be a brave call to make at this point in the race.
Absolutely true. My goodness me. 5 laps to go here in Portugal. Fassi nearly a second ahead of Wiesel, who's 7 tenths ahead of Akinci, who is nearly 8 tenths ahead of Hofland. It is still all to play for in these closing stages. Warren is getting close to the back of Siriano. Can't quite get it done. Caden Lute looking at the back of Ika Baena. I think he bounced off of Isran Pookie. I was actually running on board with Hofland, who was going around the outside of turn 5, and then I just heard a bang, and suddenly Ika Baena was falling through the field. So there was impact between Ika Baena and someone. I think it was Isran Pookie, but I'm not 100% certain. Speaking of Baena, outside line of Caden Lute, and Caden Lute's in trouble. He's stopped. He stopped the Red Bull. Why? What's he do? It had to be some kind of technical issue, wheel failure or whatever it was. But the Red Bull was suddenly stationary.
Oh, and Ika Baena's got a 5-second penalty for corner cutting on that one and gaining a place. Now, if that was on Caden Lutz, he might be able to get that removed if Lutz had a bit of an issue. But as a few people are mentioning, there was that move on Duncan Hofland earlier, so maybe there's another 5-second penalty coming Ika Baena's way. Is this going to be a 3rd race in a row for the Spaniard, who's been one of the quickest drivers in this field so far this season, that he's not going to get any points. His teammate is leading with 4 to go. Max Wiesel just about staying within DRS race. Duncan Hoffland gets the fastest lap of the race, but if he wants to take the victory, he's got to get a shift on.
4 laps to go as Baena loses out to Daniel Koya. Coming through turn 1, that's for 7th place. As Caden Liu has retired the car in the pit lane, that's 5 cars down. As Balin Ferrara and Ika Baena continuing to argue. Those hard tyres are doing nothing for the Haas now, as that's going to be the inside line for the Alpine on the Spaniard. And that is now Ika Baena down into 9th position. Well, he's still bouncing off the side of Balin Ferrara. Now he's Buki's gotten past Ika Baena. He's got nothing left in the tyres. And this is what I think Duncan Hoffland is gambling on. He's not trying to force an overtake to happen. He knows that those ahead of him are going to be struggling on tyres, as Buki and Ferrara are arguing now for 8th place. By keeping an eye on Duncan Hoffland, who's all over the back of Chana Kinchi. This could be the Turkish driver demoted from the podium. But also Max Wiesel is working to try and certainly keep pace with Ismail Farsi to see what tyres he's got left by the end of the race. Ben Sabaconi is making Ika Baena's day even worse on the inside of the penultimate corner. I mean, Ika Baena is doing everything he can, using every last bit of energy and tyre grip he's still got left, and he's hanging on in there as best he can. He's just going to be a sitting duck, as Chana Kinchi was to Duncan Hoffland. Just nailed him coming through turn 1. Hasn't got a lot of energy left, as Ika Baena's just lost another couple of positions, but he's just got Sabaconi back, who's bounced off the back of Tycho Hardy. So he hasn't given up. I mean, fair play to Ika Baena for not just throwing in the towel. This is absolutely crazy. It's great fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just had a look at the lap times. Last lap around, Duncan Hoffland was only half a tenth. Oh, and I think there's been a bit of contact there between Chavo Conye and Baena. Only half a tenth separating Wiesel on his hards and Duncan Hoffland on his medium. So this is not a sure bet, especially now that Hoffland has dropped outside of DRS zone. Whether he's going to be able to close back into Fassi or not. And Wiesel really needs, he could do with beating Ismail Fassi at the moment. As things stand at the moment, he would be 26 points behind Fassi with 4 races to go. That is quite a margin to close up, but still Ika Baena all over the back of Bencho Sharbakonye, but nothing doing at the moment. Dylan Warren, he's on the back of Suriano and Akinci as well. It seems like Akinci especially is really struggling at this moment in time. Fassi now sets the fastest lap of the race on 22 lap old hard tyres. Pookie takes it back, so he's getting the bonus point, and it stays as you were at the front of the field. It's not staying as you were towards the back of the field. Ika Baena round the outside of Shabo Konyi. He takes 12th place, but that is really just for consolation now. With that penalty, even if it gets removed, it is going to be no points here for Baena. And I think really the battle for the win, you are talking between Fassi and Wiesel at the moment, and they are on identical levels of ERS.
And identical tyre life as well. How on earth is Ika Baena getting any life out of those tyres at all? How? I genuinely have no idea. Max Wiesel was a little bit hesitant coming out of turn 8 there, but he's still going. And Duncan Hoffland, he's got no ERS. I don't think he's got enough pace to close in on the top 2. We are going to be starting the final lap once they come over the line. So I think Duncan may well have to settle for 3rd. He's broken the DRS back to Chana Kinchi. So unless the top 2 come together, I think Duncan Hoffland is going to have to settle for 3rd. And Aston Martin 2-3, they will most certainly take that. This will be a bit of a dent in the armour of what has been, as you were saying at the top of the show, Luke, a superlative performance from the Haas pair for the Constructors' Championship, as Mirko Soriano and Dylan Warren managed to nail Chana Kinchi coming into turn 1, so the 2 position's gone for the Turkish driver.
Yeah, Kinchi down to 6th place, Soriano into 4th, Dylan Warren into 5th, Max Wiesel, he's not close enough to the back of Ismail Fassi, he's got no ERS either. Is that the last opportunity? Late on the brakes for the German, manages to get it stopped in time. They're pulling away from Duncan Hoffland at the moment, both of these two. I wonder if Duncan's gone for too big a wings on that car and just looks like he's struggling a bit in a straight line and wasn't able to make any moves work. Is there anywhere where Max Wiesel can somehow weave his way past Ismail Fassi? The Spaniards had 4 podiums in the 6 races so far this season. third in Bahrain, second in Holland, third at Monaco, second last time out at Silverstone. He is just a couple of corners away from taking his first victory of the season. Çanakkale is round. That is no points for the Turkish driver. That is his championship challenge surely over. And it's starting to look, for the first time this season, that we might have a favourite. It might just be Ismail Fassi. He takes the win here at Portugal. Second place for Max Wiesel. Duncan Hofland makes it 2 Aston Martins on the podium. Drake Dempsey and Tycho Hardy find themselves ahead of Boelen Ferrer on the line because of penalties, but it is Ismail Fassi who takes the third podium in a row, his first win of the season. He's coming into form at exactly the right time.
God, Max Wiesel made him work for it. It was not a runaway victory for Fassi at all, but how can you deny that excellent performance from him? That was superb. Brilliant stuff. Very entertaining from our field. Well done.
Oh yeah, certainly. Absolutely brilliant to watch that one. Not sure whether the dance moves on the podium are quite as good there from Ismail Fassi, but he's not going to care too much. It's a Haas on the top step for the third time this season. It is Ismail Fassi on the top step of the podium. As we take a look then at the rest of the results, Max Wiesel finishing in second place. That's his best result of the season. Duncan Hofland in third place, just about keeps his championship challenge alive. And I'm just trying to quickly do the maths in my head. I believe that is Ismail Fassi now on 66 points. Mirko Soriano is second on 53. That is by far the biggest gap we have seen all season. Dylan Warren, a second top 5 finish. He's loving his return to PSGL. Daniel Koya in 6th. Istvan Pukki takes the bonus point for the fastest lap, as well as another 4 for 7th. Drake Dempsey back in the points in 8th. Tycho Hardy gets in the points again. 2 races out of 2 on the PC in 9th. Boelen Ferrer recovered to 10th after his spin early on. Just missing out with Oggiano, Akinci, Older, Chabo Konye, Baena. Another race without any points. Is that his championship challenge over? As Lut, Ritchie, Norgrove, Van Dijken and Thijvaard retired from a race which never really quite knew how that race was going to turn out, I think, if we're being honest. Chris, it looked as though things were settling down, then all of a sudden we saw, Soriano and Hofland and Baena have their fantastic battle. Ritchie had a spin, and that caused a safety car, and then that indirectly led to the chaos we saw at the end.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it would be very easy to assume that it was just going to be a done deal at that point, especially when the first safety car was triggered. When the rain that obviously then disappeared, people did settle into their rhythm. Then suddenly second safety car, and after that it was just absolute chaos. Pick a name out of a hat. But also got to worth mentioning Dylan Warren from 16th finishing in 5th. Brilliant stuff there. Daniel Koya starting 14th and finishing 6th. A superb effort from those two.
Yeah, certainly. Just managing to keep it clean and not getting any penalties and working their way through the order. I think certainly the first safety car period, we saw Dylan Warren gain quite a few places in that and made some good overtakes towards the end of that one. We thought Dylan was going to make Duncan was going to make more places than he did, but in the end, Fassi and Wiesel, it looked like no matter what tyres they were unstoppable today.
What voodoo do they know that the rest don't? They were just absolutely... I can't answer it. How on earth they were getting any pace and still setting fast? Fassi was still getting fastest laps on 22 lap old hards. How?
Yeah, crazy scenes, and thankfully we are going to be able to hear from some of our top drivers in that race very shortly indeed, as we get underway with the interviews. And we are going to start as a race winner for the first time this season, Ismail Fassi. It looked like you had a lot of fun out there tonight.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, GG's to Duncan and Max. They've deserved. They had the pace to be there. And yeah, so my quali lap was quite decent. I finished P3, so yeah, quite good. And I felt like I had a lot more time to gain than the last lap. I just bottled in a few corners and didn't improve the lap. But yeah, then in the race at the start I passed Boalem, and I felt a bit faster than Max, even behind him. And later on, I passed him. He let me go. He didn't even defend me. So then the first safety car came out. We had like plenty of gap with Khan, who was P3 like nearly 4 seconds behind us. So I was quite happy with that gap. But then I started to be scared because everyone was gonna we were gonna be in a train, and as the leader, I didn't want that. But finally, my first win in F2. I'm very happy. I still I got by quite a lot the P2 championship. So yeah, very happy with the win, and I'm just speechless.
I mean, yeah, like you said, a fantastic race for yourself. Were you surprised when Max let you go quite easily? Because we only saw the end of that overtake.
Yeah, well, we are very good friends. He helped me, so I very appreciate that. And I don't know what to say. In the second safety car, I thought Duncan was gonna catch us, but something happened with Iker, Mirko, and Duncan, so it helped a lot to us. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how many times something happened with Mirko, Duncan, and Iker. Plenty of stuff happening there. I believe you're now 13 points ahead in the championship. How are you feeling heading into Belgium next week?
Really don't know, man. I just wanna win again the race. I think it would be nice. Another great race in Belgium. I hope without any crashes between none of the championships. None of the people who is battling for the championship. So we will see. We will see what happens.
Yeah, we will see indeed. But for now, Isma, I'll let you head off. Congratulations on your first victory of the season.
Thanks.
And next up is the man who tried something different, and he did end up getting a podium from that. It is Duncan Hoffland. Chris, why don't you take us through this one?
Oh, Duncan, my goodness me. So from Master of Monaco, almost the Professor of Portimao. Talk us through it. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks for the congratulations. And I mean, the safety car came out, of course. So I saw everyone staying out in front of me. And if you're like P7 or P6, you gotta do something different. So I went in, and everyone behind followed me. So that was perfect, basically. And then I expected the mediums to be like a second or hopefully 1.5 seconds per lap quicker. But yeah, that was only in the first 2 laps, I guess, and then they fell off quite quickly. So yeah, at the end, I mean, I could make 3 moves and yeah, still podium. So I'm happy with that.
Awesome stuff. And it's Spa next time out. Is that a track you look forward to? It's difficult not to look forward to Spa, but what's the Hoffland's thought on the Great British Classic, Belgium Classic? Sorry.
The Hofplat, oh, that's a good one. I would say Spa is a great racing track. So for like overtaking and that will be very good. But yeah, it's pretty hard track to nail a lap. Of course, you got 1 minute and 44 seconds to make a mistake in your lap in quali. So that's plenty of time, and that makes it pretty hard. But yeah, I look forward to it.
So do we. It's a race we all look forward to, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much, Duncan Hoffland.
Thanks, guys.
So that's one Aston Martin driver we've heard for. We've managed to work some magic, and we're able to hear from the other one, the man who finished in second place today, Max Wiesel. So close to that first victory. But firstly, tell us about qualifying, because you looked unstoppable in the qualifying session.
Yeah, thank you. It was probably the best lap I ever did in a real session. It was also my PB. I never did a 15 before, only invalid 15. So I was surprised because normally you easily lost 0.1, 0.2 to your personal best. Yeah, the race was good. Never did a single lap in the rain as always, but I think that's same for everybody in F2. No one practiced rain. But we had already a gap from 4 seconds, so I was a bit disappointed that safety car came out the same then in the try, where we thought that we lost everything. But at the end, we are happy to stay out and manage P2. I felt mid-race a bit faster than Isma, but maybe it was only a feeling. Overtaking is really difficult on the tracks, but even with DRS and full battery. So he was also waiting for the last 2 laps, same as I did. And yeah, but P2 is good. I have had quite a difficult season. So from now on, P2 is really, really nice to have, and I take it.
Yeah, like you said, it has been quite a tricky season for you so far, but another podium for yourself. I believe you're still top 10. Well, you will be top 10 in the championship, definitely now. Good race from you. Good race from Duncan. Do you think you can possibly catch up to Haas in the Constructors? I mean, you gained points on them today. Do you think that is your aim for the rest of the season? Or is your aim just to keep getting podiums and possibly a first win?
Yeah, I think maybe both. So Haas team is pretty strong. Ika and Isma. I mean, if Duncan and I score good points, we will be able to fight them. But I don't know, they have quite a big point gap to us. So for me, it's just to put some good results in. Maybe another win. I had only one in F2 now, so maybe I got another one for this season, and then I will be happy. So that's fine for me.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be a fun end to the season. Congratulations, Max. I'll let you head off.
Thanks.
Thomas Redden here, Wiesel. A good race, Mr. Wiesel, is what I just said in German.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still struggling with Spanish on Duolingo. Never mind trying any other language. Other language learning apps are available. And yeah, an absolutely brilliant race. I think you've got to say in the end. We always, at the start, we were like, oh, what's this going to be like in the rain? But Max and Isma were in a different class today, and Isma finally getting that first win of the season. 13 points, 4 races to go. It's not a bad place to be in, but it seems like no one else has got that consistency to catch up.
Yeah, but consistency has been very difficult to maintain, hasn't it? I mean, you know, it took till round 4 before we had a double winner, which was Ika Baena, who now, you know, coming into this round was 4th. So it's all well and good getting the podiums, of which, in fairness, that is the 5th podium now for Ismail Farsi. So he has been the most consistent, but Spa can be quite unforgiving. So let's see. I can understand Ismail's enthusiasm to continue. Obviously, we wish everybody the best of luck, but I don't think he can count his chickens just yet. No,
definitely. There's still a long way to go, and still plenty can change. One DNF, one disconnection, one race he's not able to make. And that really does bring things right back into play. If you've not had your fill, though, of PSGL action, make sure to check out the rest of the streams that are going live right now. Tier 3 action up there, and we've also got, I believe, Tier 5 action going on right now, so make sure to check those out. And let's not forget, the PlayStation tiers will be back. Lower tiers tomorrow not streamed, and Sunday not streamed, and then top tiers on Monday with Jess and Aiden taking you through the action there. And of course, on Wednesday, you will be able to hear who is racing for who in Season 33, I believe it will be called, of PC F1. So make sure to check that one out with George and Jack covering that. And then myself and Chris will be back at Spa in a week's time. Thursday, 7 p.m. A first win of the season for Ismail Fassi. Can he continue the fantastic form that he's in? Obviously, still more twists in the tail in this fantastic Season 32 here in PCF2. Thanks so much for Chris for joining me. Thanks to Isma, Duncan, and Max for joining us for the interviews. Thanks also to our lead sponsors here, GT Omega. Make sure to check them out in the description below and use the code PSGL to get 5% off. Spend a little bit of your Christmas spending money on a very nice chair indeed. Myself and Chris will see you in a week's time. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.